What is our third main topic today?
Next up is from Trip McFarlane. Hi, John. With Avengers Endgame now just a couple of weeks away, I want to talk about who kills Thanos. To me, the most likely candidates are Thor, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and Nebula. If you had to put an over-under number on each of those characters or others as to who will most likely kill the Titan, what would it be? Thanks, and bring on that filthy.
All right, yeah, we are getting closer and closer every day. It's like did your parents ever make you the Christmas calendar where the calendar would be on the wall with a piece of candy and every morning you'd wake up, you take down one piece of candy? I love that. That's basically what I have in my house right now, counting down to Endgame. We're all
Those would
excited
sell,
about it.
I feel like.
Oh, those would sell huge. Are you kidding me? With little gauntlet candies on it? That'd be fabulous. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Last year, I did a video on basically breaking down the odds in Infinity War of which character was going to die. And so I'm going to do that again now, except instead of who's going to die, it's going to be who kills Thanos. And it's a discussion everybody's been having, but why don't we do it here? So here's how I'm looking at it. Now, I wanted to approach it this way. Let's look at all the possibilities, and out of 100%, ascribe a certain number to each person as to which percentage each person has that is likely to kill Thanos. Be the one to kill Thanos. And here's what I got, guys. Take this to the bank. All right. Our most likely scenario at 16% is no one. That by the end of this movie, Thanos is either still alive or just goes away or something. 16% chance, I think, is the biggest chance here, is that nobody by the end of Endgame kills Thanos. Now we start getting into our real lineup. Okay. Splitting at the highest amongst the characters is Thor and Nebula for two different reasons. But I've got them each at 15% chance that they kill Thanos. Thor for a couple of big reasons. Number one, Infinity War was basically about Thor and Thanos. It was about the two of them. The movie started with the two of them. It ended with the two of them. The whole movie was basically Thor's quest to kill Thanos, and ultimately he does defeat Thanos, although he doesn't finish the job. He has the power to kill Thanos. Even Thanos, with a fully ramped up, completely maxed out Infinity Gauntlet, Thor came in, took him out in one shot. So Thor's got the power to do it. He's got the motivation to do it. He's got the narrative line to do it. So I give Thor 15%. Nebula, I also give 15%. She may not be as powerful as Thor, but she knows Thanos better than anybody. And Thanos already said in Infinity War that Nebula came this close to killing him before. She knows how to kill him. And probably is the only character other than Thor that has a greater narrative purpose and motivation for killing Thanos. Thanos has been torturing her whole life. So these are the two characters I see are the biggest, most likely. Now, we go to Captain Marvel, comes in next at 14%. Captain Marvel for a couple of reasons. Number one, she's clearly a character who has the power level that could possibly pull it off. Number two, there's a narrative purpose here. Kevin Feige said moving forward after Endgame that Captain Marvel is going to be kind of the figurehead of the MCU moving forward. It's interesting, doesn't say the head of the Avengers, but he says kind of the head of the MCU, the face of the MCU moving forward after we go past Endgame. Power level, combined with Kevin Feige already revealing what the future of the character is, I say 14% chance Captain Marvel is the one that takes him out. Then we come down to two other guys, the two faces of the MCU up until this point, Captain America and Iron Man. Captain America, because he's Captain America, but also because of this. While I still don't think Captain America dies in this movie, there is the greatest chance out of any movie in the MCU they've ever done that he does. And if he does, he isn't dying for nothing. And that sacrifice could be to finally stop Thanos. Is he on his own powerful enough to take down Thanos on his own? Probably not, but as in everything Captain America does, he finds a way. Also sharing at the 12% for many of the similar reasons as Iron Man. He has been the face of the MCU up until this point. He did go toe-to-toe with Thanos, although that didn't go very well for him. He doesn't really have the power to take him down on his own, but this could be a position and a play of sacrifice. Narrative purpose is all there. So I give both Captain America and Tony Stark a 12%. Then we get to Hulk. Hulk is an interesting proposition going into Endgame. I'm going to give him 10%. Number one, because theoretically speaking, and Hulk will tell you this himself, Hulk strongest there is. Hulk will tell you that himself. Now, he was limited in some way. We have not seen World Breaker Hulk at this point. He obviously, for the first time in the history of the movies, he got his ass handed to him by Thanos in the first movie. We could see round 2, a little bit of payback here, a little bit more of an unleashed Hulk, maybe. So not the same chances that a Tony or a Steve or a Thor or a Nebula or a Captain Marvel have, but I'm going to give Thor a 10% chance. Now, rounding this all out, I'm going to go down to Hawkeye. And the only reason I'm putting Hawkeye at 4% is because the trailers seem to suggest very deep issues with him. Clearly, his family's going to die, and he's going to see that. And where he became the unlikely focus in the first Avengers movie, being the one that Loki turned, we could see something similar there, that again, this is a situation of a David and Goliath. Hawkeye is just a regular human being. Maybe there's somehow, some way that he takes down Thanos and vengeance for his family. Again, I give him 4% only because there seems to be a little bit of narrative suggestion in the trailers we've seen, so I'll give him a low 4%. Now, for those of you who are good at math, you'll notice that these numbers do not equal 100%. Comes close. I'm leaving just a couple of percentage points available for everybody else. I would give maybe 0.25% chance to Black Widow taking him down. I'll maybe give 0.25% chance to Okoye taking him down. Maybe, a 0.5% chance that one of the dusted characters returns and takes him down. So I left a couple of little percentage points there to play with. But overall, this is the likelihood, I think, and the order of which we're going to see people take down Thanos. Rob, you see my breakdown of this whole thing. You see who I believe are the ones who are more likely to kill Thanos than the others. How do you approach this? How do you rank them when you're looking at them compared to the chart I put together?
Well, first of all, I think the number one candidate here would be Nebula for me. And I'll tell you why. All the other characters are heroes. And even though Loki, which I doubt, I'm dubious as to whether Loki is really dead. All of the other characters are heroes. And if the MCU is going forward and one of our big guns kills Thanos and without sacrificing themselves, that's my caveat. I think it taints them. I think it taints their characters. I know we talked about Batman killing. It seems sort of strange for me to say. But I think Nebula is the one person who can kill Thanos, and there's no repercussions to her character. Everybody would say that's justice. Justice was, whether you believe in the death penalty or not, in this scenario, she was tortured her whole life. She's been beleaguered. She's been emotionally destroyed until the end of Guardians 2 when she finally reconciled with her sister. She's still a mess. And if anyone deserves to kill Thanos, it's her. But I also think that it's not Thanos that's really the problem. It's the gauntlet and the Infinity Stones. Yes, it's Thanos' desire to utilize them, but there's a way to stop him from doing what he's doing without killing him as a being. And I don't know, but I would think that the message of these movies, and maybe, I mean, normally I have bloodlust like you can't believe. I love it when people get killed in films. I loved it when Zod's neck got snapped. Bring it on. But in this particular instance, I think there's something going on here that we might not be taking into consideration yet. And I'm not convinced that Thanos is going to die in this movie. I think there's going to be a larger universal point made. I just keep harking back to Star Trek when Kirk wanted to kill the Gorn. He was right there ready to deliver the killing blow, and he was stopped himself at the last minute, and the Metron shows up and says, wow, you showed a quality of mercy. And, it was a Deus Ex Machina, but I just don't think Thanos is going to die. But if he does, I think it's at the hands of Nebula.
See, you and I have had this discussion a couple of times. Your notion that one of the heroes can't kill Thanos because that taints them. Do you know
unless they die in the process.
Do you know what the body count of Steve Rogers' victims are in Avengers or in Captain America: The First Avenger? Do you know how many people he kills? Do you know how many
Nazis? They had it coming.
And Thanos, who killed trillions of beings across the galaxy. Do you know what the body count of Tony Stark is in Iron Man 1 alone? Thor
They were
in
terrorists.
Infinity War says he's lived 1,500 years and he's killed twice as many. Thor has a body count of thousands and thousands of thousands. In all the Avengers movies, we see the heroes killing the bad guys all the time. But for Thanos, you think there's... Nah, but Thanos deserves a little bit more tenderness. I just don't get it.
I think it's a weird... Here's the thing. Thor's a warrior, and he was always in... if you're in a conflict, if you're in a war... I think, and I guess you're right. I mean, it's perhaps my logic is deeply flawed, but because he is wiping out planetary systems, he's going and killing half the population, planet by planet by planet throughout the galaxy. So he pretty much does deserve to die. But they've also painted him as he has a philosophy, and it's there's just something. I think it would be really interesting if clearly if they can restore the universe. Here's the thing. If they can restore the universe and somehow unsnap the snapping, reverse the decimation, should Thanos die? I guess he should, because he's a despot and he's killed millions of people, trillions of people probably. So yes, but I mean, even Darth Vader, who stood by while Alderaan was blown up, billions of people die. He gets redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi, and people are like, yay.
Well, they were like, yay, he killed the Emperor, and he died. I mean,
he killed
Vader
children.
Died.
Man.
He didn't survive. He didn't survive at the end of Return of the Jedi, and then the New Republic welcomed him into the New Republic with open arms without any. He died. He died at the end.
I think my thinking is muddled, John. Now that I think about it, now that I look back, but I still think Nebula is the number one choice to kill him.
Yeah, and that's where I've got her right now. My number one choice is no one. So no one to me is the highest percentage. And then after that, I agree. I think Nebula and Thor kind of share that top spot. And then I go down the list. Would you change the order of my list in any way as you're looking at this list here? How would you change that order?
Actually, I want to add somebody to your list because I hadn't been thinking about this, but I'm going to add a dark horse candidate.
Ooh.
For the Thanos killer.
Hit me.
Hela.
Oh, okay.
Hela is going to kill Thanos.
What percentage would you give her? Like if we're setting Nebula at 15 and blah, blah, blah.
There's a reason why they haven't shown us anything beyond, say, the first 30 minutes of this movie, which is the first 20% of this film. We haven't seen 80% of this movie because there are characters they do not want to give away that are in this film that if they showed any more, it would be too difficult not to show them or reference them. And Hela is, after all, the goddess of death. And in the comics, they've always played that Thanos is infatuated with death. Everything he does is trying to impress death. And I think at the end of this movie, one of my favorite movies is All That Jazz. Jessica Lange plays Angelique, the angel of death, and embraces Joe Gideon, the character, at the end of the movie. I think they could do some Soul Stone action where Hela meets him on the astral plane and takes him into her embrace, finally gives his soul peace, and he's taken away to the afterlife. And I think that would be badass.
Well, if you want to talk about power levels as well, remember, Thor takes out Thanos one shot. He couldn't stop Hela. Even once he had powered up, now granted, he didn't have Stormbreaker. He didn't have Stormbreaker yet. But even once completely powered up, with Hulk with him, with Valkyrie with him, with Loki with him, he just knew there's no point in fighting her. We can't take her. And ultimately, it took the destruction of Asgard to stop her. So that is something we got to keep in mind. I'm intrigued by that. So guys, listen. What do you guys think? Who do you think has the greatest chance of killing Thanos if Thanos even dies at all in this movie? Jump it down to the comment section below and let us know your fun thoughts. We'd like to hear them. Okay, with that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our next main topic today?
I was going to say that I kind of hope that Gamora comes back and does the deed. But
I mean, that's something.
Maybe it's possible. I don't know how they would play that, but I would be very satisfied with that.
You know, Rob, that is because I said I left a few fractions of a percent of a point for maybe one of the dusted characters to do the deed, but I've just been kind of operating on this baseless assumption.
Because she wasn't dusted, so I feel like if there was a way to get her back, and then she did it, that would be a pretty emotional ending.
Yeah, I've had this.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've had this baseless assumption in my head that Gamora can only come back once Thanos and the whole situation is dealt with. But there's nothing saying that. Maybe it could be a Gamora.
Well, I was going to say, I've often thought that the reason you have to sacrifice someone that you truly love to get the Soul Stone is because the Soul Stone needs that power. So her soul, Gamora's soul, whatever, she's still in that Soul Stone, and that's what gives the stone itself its power, because that's why it's so important. You have to, it truly burns brightly and is powered up by the love, the true depths of love that somebody has, and it's that sacrifice that makes the Soul Stone work, which means Gamora's still in there, causing the whole thing to be powered up. And
maybe somehow someone breaks that, and then she comes back, and then, but we'll see.
Something like that.
But let's remember this too, guys. When Thanos throws Gamora off the cliff, her body doesn't disappear into the Soul Stone. We see her dead, lifeless corpse at the, like, she hit the rocks, her body's down there, that's where she is, she's dead. So, I don't know. I mean, are we suggesting that the Soul Stone had no power until a sacrifice is made and that gives us its power?
I don't know.
It's a lot of questions we have, man. A lot of interesting directions they could go in once we actually get into the movie.
Can you imagine if this movie is this deep and philosophical, which I think it can be, because people are always poo-pooing the fact that, these are just superhero movies. But these are existential questions I expect to be answered in Endgame.